even though I've said in the past I do not like this Aero package, I will always admit when a race is good, and the Cup race at Las Vegas was a good race. It had about everything you need to make a race good. There were comers and goers. There were different faces at the front. There were some battles back in the pack, and there was a close battle to the end. Um, so Las Vegas last year, with this Aero package, was known as the clean race. You look at the first Las Vegas race; it did not have a single yellow flag except for stages. They were very, very clean during it. There were crazy restarts as well because the track is so wide. You could do stuff like that. The second race of the season was a little more kind of it was a little more crazy. There were two more yellows, so there were four yellows. So all in all, Vegas had six yellows throughout the season. So kind of going into this race, I expected a little bit like, hey, we might get some long green flag runs. In fact, it could just go green flag until the stage ends. So that might be something to watch for. Um, it turned out to be the complete opposite. I think we got like 8 or 9 yellow flags during the race. So it was the complete opposite of clean. There was some good hard racing. It it appeared as if the drivers actually had to drive the race cars, which was something nice to see. Drivers were getting sideways at points, getting up the racetrack, getting loose. There were still the points of, hey, this dirty air sucks. Like an example being Chase Elliott trying to pass Joey Logano for 15, 20, 25 laps and not being able to complete the pass on the inside. Other points of where someone tried to make a pass and then lost a spot or two because they were down the inside. But I mean, that's not something to be mad about when the race was good. That's something that you go and you say, oh, that sucked when the race was bad. When the race was good, you push that to the side and be like, was it really too big of a problem? Not necessarily, because people could still pass. So, all in all, that didn't really matter. So we could push that off to the side. Um, so the race was crazy from the get go. We had a crazy, crazy first few restarts. All the restarts are crazy, as is normal with this package. When you have so much downforce and the cars take longer to get up to speed because they are restricted engines, it's like Daytona Talladega, except the draft doesn't really mean everything, even though it still means a lot. Doesn't mean everything. So that was cool to see some cool restarts. You know, this package definitely promotes that. So that was something nice to see. Chase Elliott had a bad fast race car. Something that I was really surprised about. Hendrick Motorsports brought some fast race cars. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But Chase Elliott was definitely the head of Hendrick Motorsports here today. He ended up winning stage one and stage two. And he looked like he was basically gonna cruise away to a victory. He made his final pit stop, got out front of Logano, and everything looked all right. But then going into turn number one, the right rear went flat, and the 9 car hit the wall, bringing out the yellow flag. So Chase Elliott went from being on top and looking like the favorite to win the race at Las Vegas because he had the best long run car in the race to then being a lap down out of contention just like that. So that was kind of Chase Elliott luck from like 2016 coming back, where like 2016, 2017, where like he had a good car and he did nothing wrong. He just kind of it happened to him. It was just bad fate, bad luck. So that was tough for Chase. Because he should have been up there. I think a battle between he and Logano and Blaney at the end would have been very cool to see. Another driver who had a really good car and had a terrible rake was Martin Truex Jr. He hit the wall in a restart, got a tire rub. That tire rub then cut the tire down, bringing out a yellow flag. And Truex never really did recover. I mean, he never got back up into a position to where he was. He and Chase were I would say, pretty equal on the long run. They kind of stayed with each other. So it appeared that I thought it was going to be a battle between the 9 and the 19, but both of them had issues. So it was one of those races where nothing made sense. And let me tell you, nothing made sense. It was crazy. So I talked about Chase Elliott getting into the wall after blowing a tire and bring out yellow flag. That is the yellow which just changed the whole complexity of the race. That yellow came in the middle of green flag pit stops. Three drivers had not yet come down pit road. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Ryan Preece, and John Hunter Nemechek were 1, 2, 3. So those three came down pit road. All the other cars had to take the wave around because they were a lap down. So Stenhouse started up front. Priest was set to restart second. However, he had an engine go back under yellow from second position, so that put Nemechek in second. At the green flag, Stenhouse didn't get going. Nemechek cleared. Logano moved to the front with Harvick on his tail and Blaney also there. And this restart was also very, very crazy. You had cars bumping all around. Blaney got some damage. Some cars got the wall. But overall, they kept it clean. They kept it green. The race went green flag for a long time after that restart. You know, it's kind of Logano out in front, Harvick in second, some battles back behind. But the big story was the Hendrick Motorsports cars, along with Brad Keselowski. This race was really about Penske Racing and Hendrick Motorsports. Those were kind of the two main teams. It was like 2014 all over again. So Penske brought three good race cars here today. Hendrick Motorsports brought four really good race cars today. Penske had Logano and Blaney running at the front. They were inside the top five pretty much all race long. For Brad Keselowski, at the beginning of the race, stage one, his car looked like it was not going to perform at all. He fell from inside the top 10 down to like 21st or 22nd in the first stage, and it looked like he was going to plummet down and just stay down there. However, he slowly clawed his way back up, played some good pit strategy. When they had like 5 laps on their tires, they came down pit road. A lot of other people stayed out. He actually marched the field back up inside the top 10. And on this final restart, he was moving forward. I mean, Byron were moving forward. So that was cool to see. So as Nemechek fell back, Stenhouse actually stationed inside the top 5 pretty well. In fact, he was holding off at points Blaney, Keselowski, Byron, and others. But as I mentioned, Hendrick also brought some fast race cars. As I mentioned, Chase Elliott was one of the fastest, if not the fastest car here today at Las Vegas, so he was running at the front. William Byron ran inside the top 10 most of the day. He had a really good race car. Jimmy Johnson ran top 15 all day long, and he ran inside the top 10, top 5 late in the race. And Alex Bowman ran inside the top 10, top 8 pretty much all day long. And he started marching forward at the end of the race. So after Jimmy got into the wall, Bowman and Byron started to come through, and Alex Bowman turned on the jet engines on that race car. He went flat flying up against the wall, running in a Dale Jr. lane, right up against the wall, making time, making progress, getting by cars left and right, flying by them and gaining time on the race leaders, who were Logano, Harvick, and Blaney. So Blaney passes Harvick for a second, then tries to run down his teammate Logano. Meanwhile, Alex Bowman's back there passing Ricky Stenhouse Jr., passing William Byron, passing Brad Keselowski. He then goes up and passes Kevin Harvick. He then finds a way around Joey Logano in a few laps. So then that means he has like 9-10 laps to cut down like 7 or 8 tenths of a second to get to Ryan Blaney. And he's doing it. He's closing in. 6 to go. Yellow flag comes out. To say I was disappointed when the yellow came out would be an understatement. I really wanted to see that fight to the finish. I thought would have been really cool, just head-to-head battle to the win. Yellow came out, which was fair. Ross Chastain spun in front of a pack of cars, so they had to throw yellow. And it set up an interesting scenario. There were going to be 2 laps to go once they got the green flag. But the tires were pretty worn out. It was a pretty long green flag run. Blaney came in. Bowman came in. A lot of others came in. Joey Logano stayed out. William Byron stayed out. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. stayed out. Austin Dillon. A ton of other cars stayed out. Like 7 cars stayed on the racetrack. 8th on back. 8th to I think 11th took 2 tires. 12th on back took 4 tires. So this was going to be a crazy restart because there were so many different scenarios happening. You had staying out, 2 tires, and 4 tires. Green flag comes out. Logano gets the boost away. Clears traffic. DiBenedetto tries to get inside William Byron. They make contact, sends Byron off the racetrack with a huge tire rub. DiBenedetto gets to second. Byron's falling back through the field with a tire rub. Back behind them, Jimmy Johnson makes a 5-wide move, 5 lanes down into the apron for a top 5 spot. I mean, it was absolutely crazy. Jimmy drove like he was in a Monte Carlo, and that's gonna be a joke that makes sense in a second. Jimmy got up inside the top five. Back behind them, they're about 5 wide off turn number 4. They wreck. Kyle Busch somehow pulls out an amazing save. Cars stack up off of turn number 4 to turn number 1. NASCAR really has no choice but to throw the yellow at this point. They started wrecking off of turn number 4. There was smoke at the start finish line. Who knows where there was debris, if there was debris, if cars were going to stall there. You can't call the caution off turn 4 because they're still going to be racing hard back to the line. They're not going to slow down. So NASCAR was kind of forced into an issue there to where they had to throw the yellow. Obviously, Logano would have won either way, so it's not like anything would have changed there. Um, it's a shame it ended under yellow, but it is what it is. You know, that's going to happen sometimes. You can't get every single race to end under yellow or to end under green. Um, some are going to end under yellow. That's what that's what this sport is. Sometimes you're going to have really really good endings. Sometimes you're going to have really really bad endings. So it is what it is. I think NASCAR made the right call in this judgment, especially after last week. It can't be too safe with throwing yellows late in the race, especially on the last lap. Um, you don't want someone to go flying through there, and if a car stalled or if there's debris on the racetrack, hitting some debris and launching it in the air. So, props to NASCAR there for throwing the yellow. Even though it sacrificed a green flag finish, they were more concerned about the safety and well-being of the drivers and fans rather than the entertainment value. So after the race, Jimmy Johnson actually got an interview, and instead of referring to it as his Camaro, he referred to it as a Monte Carlo, which was pretty funny. Um, and I don't think he ever realized they referred to it as a Monte Carlo. I also want to give a shout out to Ross Chastain, who ran the 6 car up inside the top 10 at the end of stage number 1. Had an unfortunate incident with Kurt Busch, and then of course spun out late in the race. So that was a tough break for Ross Chastain right there. He was running well really early in the race, ran like top 15 much of the early portion of the race, but just couldn't end it out. But if he gets more seat time in that 6 car, he could be a threat to get some good points days for that 6 teams owners championship here and there. Um, so overall, as I mentioned, a good race. Um, like an 8 out of 10. It could have been better. There were some points in the race where I was kind of like, okay, this is like a little bit impossible to pass, or hey, lap cars are really holding up the race leader because of this package. But I can't be too mad about what happened. It was a good race. One of the best for this package, honestly. It's up there with Kansas Spring as one of the best with this package. Kansas Spring, Chicagoland last year were probably the gold standards for this package, and this one is right behind them. I don't really think any other races come close to these three. I feel like those are kind of the three where if you think about the package, you kind of think of those. Um, Another interesting tidbit is that Hamlin won the 2019 Daytona 500, he won the 2020 Daytona 500. Joey Logano won the 2019 Pennzoil 400 at Las Vegas. He won the 2020 Pennzoil 400 at Las Vegas. We have Auto Club next, who won Auto Club last year. That was Kyle Busch. So technically, Kyle Busch is confirmed to win the Auto Club race now. You're welcome. But yeah, I think that's about it. Good race. We're continuing on the West Coast swing to Auto Club. So we'll see if that one is better than what we saw last year, because if I remember, it wasn't terribly great. So we'll just see if it improves or not. But thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you guys for the next video.